immutable updates, which really seems like an oxymoron. Immutable update. Immutable means what? Well, don't change, and update means to change. So it really does seem like an oxymoron. Um, but it'll become clear in a bit. We'll talk a bit of a review about render again, because this is important, the React render, and then we'll talk about how does React compare state. And this term, which was kind of odd, reference equality optimization, which is kind of a pedantic term for stuff you already know. And we'll talk about why we should not mutate state. We should not change state, which is different from updating state, strangely enough. But there is a difference between updating state and mutating state or changing state. And we'll talk what that is and why it's just so bad. And we'll talk about some patterns to avoid that, certainly with complex things such as arrays and objects. And we'll look at this, revisit our work we talked about the first couple of weeks of JavaScript variables and values versus complex objects versus references. We'll talk about some of the array functions because these are important, and some of the array functions are pure and some are not so pure. So sounds kind of odd, but yeah, we have our pure functions and our not so pure array functions and which ones we use. And of course, the spread operator, which we know already. This dot, 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 the 3 dots spread operator. Do some examples of updating complex state and then some more examples of how to do patterns of immutable updates. Because as coders, we code to patterns. We try to follow accepted or proven patterns in our code. So this is the way you do a for loop. It's a pattern, pretty simple pattern. This is the way you should do a filter. It's a filter pattern. So things like that. All right. So we know, of course, we have our app. There it is right there. And I've got a counter in there. Put a count in this time. Okay. So work. It does. I've taken my counter and now it exists as a counter. Okay. So I look at my dev tools and here it is. Updating counter 1, 2, 3. Sounds pretty normal. Okay. So that all works. Now, what we do know, we talked about yesterday, is if I press 0 again, and keep on pressing it, it's not going to render, is it? And that's because React only renders or triggers a re-render of the component if its state changes. And this counter component, it has a state, so it is the component that renders. So app does not render ever if counter changes, only if some state inside app changes. And counter will re-render only if its state changes. Not, and of course, not just calling set counter because I'm still calling set counter with 0. React is fairly smart. It detects if this state has in fact changed. If it has changed, then it does an update. Let's write ourselves a little file. I'm going to make a little example file. Let's call this set state.js. I'm going to pretend I'm React. And let's keep some state out of memory someplace because React kind of manages state outside of our code. So kind of floats out here. Put a, there we go. Kind of out in the React world. There we go. There's some state somewhere. We don't see it. It's kind of hidden from us. There it is. Okay. And then I have a function called set state. And it'll get a value to change the state to. This could be like our set count. So for instance, set counter is a set state function. So we're going to write a generic set state function. We'll kind of try to do or replicate what React does when it sets state. So now you would think it simply goes state equals value and then render, right? Or trigger. We would think, right? But we now know that, well, that's not exactly the case. It doesn't actually do this if it's the same thing. If I press 0, nothing happens. So it doesn't render and doesn't change my state because nothing to change. So apparently it does some checking first. And it does. It checks if the state is different. So if value is equal to state, well, it doesn't do anything. returns. There. Let's put a console log here. We'll say state not changed. There. And we'll put our two things. We'll put state, and we'll put our values so we can see our two numbers that we're comparing. If I could put a little string in the middle, even more cool. There. There. State not changed. So if I call my set state and I make it 0, why not? Now, my state initially is undefined. So this should not trigger anything, right? But if I go set state undefined, let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and try this. Here's my file and set state. So node set state. Who votes crash on my code? Good bet to vote crash. Oh, well, state not changed. Okay, guess it wasn't a good bet that time. Not changed. So undefined is undefined, no change. Okay, so now if there is a change, we'll just console log state was changed. State changed. Exclamation mark. There. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a set state of 0 and maybe 1 and 1 again. We kind of know what's going to happen now because it'll only detect when state is changed. So run this again. There, state changed, undefined to 0, 0 to 1, not changed. So I can keep on going 1 again and again, and nothing will happen. It'll never detect or it'll never do anything because it noticed that the state is unchanged. So this is my simplified set state function. And we know this works. And we know this is pretty much what React does as far as values anyways, like integers, numbers, and basic values, what are called primitive values, right? We heard the term primitive values? It's not like they're old and live in caves. They're just primitive in that they don't have any complexity. So things like numbers, Booleans, undefined, null, these are all primitive values. String is a special case. It is treated like a primitive value, but technically it isn't. But JavaScript has some sugar around or sugar code around it to make it behave like a primitive value. So it's kind of a weird case with strings, right? No other language I know of treats strings like primitives except JavaScript. Okay, so here's our cool function. Now, we know before that we added some stuff to our code. We did in our code, we added an input and we tried to SF. Let's go ahead and do it again really quickly. Shouldn't take more than a second. So add this and we're gonna maintain a list or some data. Data, set data. There. I'm going to have a list of items. And I'll have some text as well. Using my snippets again, which I love. Text. There we go. And we'll start empty string. Interesting point. If you forget to give an initial value, you're going to get some interesting results sometimes. I'll demonstrate that in a second. It's kind of fun to watch. Okay, so I'll put my counter. Let's put my input right here. There. Type equals text. Let's take a look at it. How am I looking? Oh, and it says use state. Better import use state. Oh, come on. Use with S. Wow. Okay. Import use state. There we go. Okay. All right. And use. Oh, use. Man. There we go. Last. Am I really not spelling it correctly? Use state not defined. Is this confused? Okay, it was just confused. Okay. I guess Webpack couldn't keep up with me. Right. There's my input, but it's not connected to state, is it? So I have to connect this input to state. That's easy. We just do the usual value equals and on change equals. Piece of cake now. Okay, so value equals my text and on change equals, I don't mind putting this inline. It's pretty easy to do. We just go E and then set text to E dot target dot value. There we go. And stuff seems to happen. As I always do, I'll put my text here just so I can see it. I like to see what's going on, just to satisfy myself I am in fact updating state. And there it is. It's working great. Okay, I can now delete that thing. It's always a nice test to see, am I in fact updating state? Because I'm just too lazy to go to DevTools because it takes like an extra 5 clicks and I don't feel like doing that today. There we go. So now I've got my input there. And I'll add a button. I'll put a button here, put in a div. There, and make ourselves a button. There, how's it looking? Empty button, and we'll say add. Great, okay. We'll make a button that says clear as well. Great. So far, so good. Now I'm going to render a list. Put it right here. So UL. And I'll render some list, which I'll make in a second here. Okay. Make ourselves a list. So const list equals, and of course we use map. Map is our best friend. For doing anything with arrays or rendering any array, we use map. So it's data dot map. And for every item, there we go, I will render an li. Which contains the item. It's going to complain. I know it's going to say my key, so I might as well give it the key right now. There, I'll go comma I. The absolute worst way to do it, but at least it makes React happy for now. Key equals I. There we go. It's good to have a key. Those warning messages just get in the way and they kind of mess things up. How am I doing? Let's take a look. Okay, and no, nothing. Let's take a look. Just make sure. Oh, seems okay. One more time. Yeah, no errors. Okay. The rest was just typing as I was typing code. Okay. So far, so good. So now I'm almost all set to go. Just need my add button to do something and my clear. Now the clear is easy. Just on click equals, and it's going to be a function that will empty the array. So we'll go set data to an empty array. Pretty easy. But my add. Okay, so let's make a function for that like we did yesterday. A function called add item. Add item. There we go. And we want to add our text here to our data list that we then map and we render. So I need to add something to an array. And once again, what's the easiest way to add something to an array? So push, right? Yeah, we'll go data dot push text, and well, of course, we're going to render or save our data again. Set data to our now modified data. And we'll hook our button up to our add item. Click equals add item. I think all the plumbing is in place. Let's take a look. How are DevTools looking? No errors. Okay. Let's go ahead and add something. So we'll go hello, and we'll click add, and nothing happens. So what I'm going to do here, let's go ahead and just console log to make sure we are in fact updating this, this data. There we go. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so console log data, set data. I think we're in good shape now. Make it wider. Okay, let's add some friends. Anything saved here? Nope. Okay. Let's pick some A-listers. Dwayne Johnson. How do you spell Dwayne Johnson? Is it DW? Is that Dwayne Johnson's name? John. No, that's not how you spell Johnson. Or is it DU? Anyone know? I just call him The Rock. right? But is it Dwayne Johnson? Anyone know? Is it, I can't remember. Is it Dwayne? Okay, good. Yeah, right. So Dwayne Johnson, add. He's added to my array. He's not rendered. He's the mummy. He's invisible. Maybe that's why, right? Just kind of got magic powers. Okay. Okay. And oh, you're right. Douanier. You're right. Dwayne. There we go. Good idea. Okay. Try it again. Dwayne Johnson. Add. Nothing happened. Okay. And looks like I need to render my item. Let's put my item in here. Curly braces there. Because I'm going to get the word item otherwise, aren't I? Oh, Dwayne showed up. Where did he come from? That was odd. He wasn't there a second. I'm sure he wasn't there. Am I seeing things? I'm sure Dwayne wasn't there a second ago until I updated my code. Something odd is happening. Let's clear our array. That works, thank goodness. Okay, let's go and add Dwayne again. There he is. Huh. Okay, not there. Okay, who's another A-lister? Let's list some A-listers. Okay, not Tom Cruise. He's kind of A-minus lister, I think, these days. Who's an A-lister? Matthew Perry? Sure, he's in the news. Why not? Good Canadian guy. Matthew Perry. You're right. Taylor Swift, total A-lister. Matthew Perry. Add. Wait a second. Okay. I'm sure I wasn't seeing things this time. Dwayne showed up as I was typing, but I added Matthew 3 times. Okay, something funny is going on with my code. Let's just backspace this again. Whoa! What's going on? What's happening to my code? I'm getting what you would call unpredictable or unexpected results, or really what's called undefined results. Beyonce? Yes, exactly. Beyond. I can't. Is there an E with the mark on it? Maybe not. Okay. Yeah, I can't. Which character is that? An accent. Yeah, you're right. Oui, that's right. Add. Ah, okay. Oh, she showed up again as I typed. Okay, so something is clearly going on, isn't it? Something's really messing me up here. I've got some nasty effects going on here. Let's clear my stuff. And my dev tools, they're all there, right? So let's add somebody else. James Holden, good friend to have. There he is. Not on the list though. So clearly something is happening that shouldn't be happening in my code. Definitely. So what is it? Well, what's happening is I'm mutating state. This is a classic case of mutating state, which is a bad thing. I'm getting really bad results. Like I can't even predict what's going to go on. If I type something here, probably going to show James Holden all of a sudden. What I'm doing here, I'm doing a data.push. But data, this is the one that I got back from my use effect. This is React's copy of state. So when I called use state, I get back 2 things. I get back the function in the second part of the array, but in the first part of the array, I get back React's copy of that, whatever React has in its memory. So React has some memory someplace, and we can see it in our dev tools. There's our app, and there's React's copy. Hold on, there we go. There. So this is React's copy of the data. Oh, wider. There. Okay. So I shouldn't touch that. I can't go touching this copy because now I'm doing something directly interacting. React doesn't even know about it. I'm just changing memory directly by pushing into React's array. React can't detect that. It has no way of detecting that I made that change. But then what happened to the set data? Why didn't that force my refresh or my re-render? Let's go back to our set state function. Instead, let's try something else. Let's set state to an array. Okay. Now, why don't we go, in fact, why don't we even have it return a state? So we have that there. So we'll say const, or we'll say let new state equals that state, just for fun, right? And we'll say new state dot push. We're going to push something into our new state now, and we'll push just item 1. It doesn't matter. Push there. Okay. And then we'll say set state to our new state. Getting kind of weird, isn't it? Anyway, okay. Let's watch what happens. Let's run this. Okay, undefined, it didn't change anything. State not changed. Okay, which is kind of odd. Let's try something else. What if I want to just, let's take a look. Let's do this. Let's make a new array here. Const data equals array. Do this instead. It's a little easier to understand. Says data. There, we'll go data push that. Says data. Just a couple times. And we'll push it again. There. There. And do this a couple of times. We're going to add a few things to our array, and every time we're going to set the data, and let's watch what happens. Okay. State changed. State not changed. State not changed. Okay. And it thinks that for some reason it's the same thing. What's happening is it's using the reference. Remember, we had a little exercise in low tide weeks and weeks and weeks ago. It was called EQ arrays. Anybody remember this one? We did 1 and AR2. Remember this one? Yeah, years ago, it seems like, right? Now, not knowing anything, when I first tried this, I think, what would I do the very first time? Well, I'd probably just do something like this. Well, if 1 equals AR2, return true, right? Otherwise, I'd return false. Great. Problem solved. That was an easy one. Wow. Why does it say it takes an hour and a half to do? It was like 5 minutes. Well, did this work? The answer is, of course, no, it didn't work, did it? But why didn't it work? Why could we not simply compare an array this way? Because we're given the references to these arrays. These are not actually values. These are 2 different arrays, or 2 different addresses, if you will. So we had to do a brute force compare of the arrays. We had to do, for I equals 0, I is less than length, I plus plus, compare the 2 values all the way down. If they're nested arrays, then we have to do recursion. That gets scary. And then maybe that contains more objects, even more scary. So a lot of work, right? There's a lot of code required to compare 2 arrays properly. So this looks a lot easier, doesn't it? Way easier. So let's think about how React would do this. Okay, well, turns out React took the easy way out. They did this. They didn't do all that work of comparing if what you've got has changed. They don't care about that. They just want to know, is it the same reference? It's all they care. And that's this term. It's called reference equality optimization. It means compare the references only, and because it's fast. That's what that means. So compare references because it's really fast, because we don't feel like doing a deep brute force compare of objects or arrays. It just does this, and that's it. Okay. So now, is everyone clear on things like references versus values? What do you think? I can do a quick review of that. Do a really quick review of references versus values. Let's take this because that's not good. Okay. Let's make ourselves some data here. I'll put it here. Okay. So let's say I go const x equals 5. Simple JavaScript variable assignment expression. So what happens under the covers? What happens is, let's say I've got some memory. I'll just make a bunch of zeros here for now. There's a bunch of zeros. There's some memory. We'll say this is the computer's memory. Okay, there. And these are all locations in memory. This is location 0. This location, I have no idea. Okay, it's just some location. So what JavaScript does, when you say x equals 5, well, it literally takes the variable x and puts 5 in it. So it's got its variable memory here. X is in fact 5. Okay, so let's say it puts a 5 here. And that becomes x. And this works fine for values. It puts the value of the 5 directly in that variable. Okay, but if I do x equals something else, x equals an array, 1, 2, 3, it does not put the array inside the variable. Technically, variables are stored in different kind of memory. It's called stack memory, but I don't go there. Okay, so this is our what's called heap memory. All these cool terms: heap memory and stack memory. You don't need to know that. So if I declare an array in JavaScript, what does JavaScript do under the covers? Well, now it does not put the array inside the variable because it can't. Because variables in every computing language that I know of can only hold one thing. What's the one thing that a variable can hold in almost any language? It's only one thing. It's a number. That's it. That is all a variable can hold. A number. 1, 2, 3, a big long number, whatever. That's all it can hold. I mean, limited by the bit size of the computer. So you got a 64, let's got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say we have an 8-bit computer. Anybody remember 8-bit computers? I do. Old, that's the biggest number they could hold is 255, which is crazy, right? So there's an 8-bit computer, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's an old, one more, 8. There's an old PC, a 16-bit computer. 65,535, I think. Am I correct? I can't remember. Anyway, 2 to the 16th minus 1. That's the biggest number. A lot bigger than 255. But that's it. So a variable can only hold numbers. Technically binary numbers like this, zeros and ones, but who cares? Numbers, okay? So if I say x equals 5, I'm putting a 5 in x. And I don't know, what's 5? I'm thinking it's an odd number, so that's a 1. And I think, is that a 5? I think that's a 5. I have no idea. I'm not a computer scientist. I think that's a binary 5. It doesn't matter. That's fine. It puts the 5 directly in x. But now if I say x equals array, well, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 for now. 8 bits, let's say, to work with. I can't put an array in there. I cannot put array or even a long array. 5, 6, 7. I can't put that in that memory space. This can only hold numbers ever. So what do? I'm stuck because my computer simply can't do arrays. Well, it's impossible. We use arrays all the time, don't we? Or objects. These are important concepts. So we have to be able to handle that. So what JavaScript does is it takes that 1, 2, 3 and puts it in memory right here. 1, 2, and 3. I'm simplifying, of course. There. Puts it right there. 1, 2, 3. And it grabs the location. What is that? It's How wide is that? Column 27. We're going to guess this is about column 73. Who knows? So this is location 73 right there. So it takes and puts a 73 in X. So X is now 73. So the variable X actually contains the value 73 along with, oh, and this is an array. So it contains information that this is an array and its location is 73. It's got a length. An array is an object, right? The location, the length, what type it is, all that stuff. This is all hidden from you, of course, in JavaScript, but that's how it works. It's an array at location 73. Okay, let's make another array. Const y equals 1, 2, 3. There. Okay, what does JavaScript do? Makes another array, puts it here. 1, 2, 3. There. It's random. Who knows where it's going to put stuff? Well, this is location, I don't know, location 18. So now the variable y contains the value 18 along with the information like this is an array, its length is 3. So now we have two variables. One contains 73, one contains 18. So now it becomes pretty clear why we can't compare these two, can we? Even though they contain the identical information, 73 is not equal to 18. And this is why when you compare two arrays, even if they contain the same information, they will still be not equal, unless they're literally the same object, in which case it works, right? So that is how JavaScript works under the covers with references. So, and of course, what React has done, it has said, I'm just comparing this. I'm not going to bother recursing into your arrays. No way. That's way too expensive. I'm going to just compare the references. So, of course, what I'm doing here in my app, I'm saying set data data. And React says, well, you're giving me data. Well, that's what you gave me before. That's the very same thing you gave me. Why should I even bother? I'm not changing because data and data, it's the same thing. It's the same problem as our 0. If I go set counter 0, 0, 0, it's the same value, same with our set data here. It's just the same value. But of course, under the covers, I've modified React's version of that so it doesn't know about it until the next render, because React will render what it's got. It'll render its state, but we've modified its state without React knowing about it, so the render doesn't happen until something happens. Watch this. And I type there, and now it renders because this input triggered a render, didn't it? So because the input triggered a render, then it ran the render. It had data. Data has stuff in it, but React didn't know about it. So we try to never change state without telling React about it. And good point, Charlie, with prev or prev, that wouldn't help because it's the same thing, right? You say prev and then, oh, prev, it's the same, isn't it? It'd be the same thing. Or return prev, same thing. So although using the prev method of set state does help with stale state, this is the opposite of stale state. This is too fresh state, right? It's state that is not ripe yet. We've changed it and haven't told anybody. Whereas with stale state, we want to change it and it's been changed already. It's kind of the opposite. So this is considered bad. Using a push like that, we would really never do that in React. Anything that modifies, and this is one of the many array functions. Remember array functions? Let's go array functions. There's tons of them. Look at array functions. So JavaScript array methods. There. I'll go here. W3 kind of sucks. Okay. There. Array methods. So there are Lots and here they go. Look at them all. Look at all these methods. There's a lot of array methods. Push, pop, we know those ones. Is array, these are prototype methods. But sort, splice, to reversed, to sorted, to spliced, to string, lots of cool stuff. Includes lots of really cool array methods. Some of these methods modify the original array. Push and pop do that. So if we look at push and pop, it adds it to the end of an array. It modifies the array. Okay. There. Okay. But some other array methods do not modify. For instance, let's take a look at slice. There's a cool one. Slice. There. Slice returns a copy of the array. In other words, return value, a new array. So slice does not modify the old array. You get a new one. And this is important. This is one of the pure array functions. A pure function meaning it does not modify the original. How about sort? Remember use sort? Is sort pure or not? Let's take a look. Always wondered. Where's sort? Right there. What does sort do? Returns. The original array now sorted. It's sorted in place and no copies made. So they're telling you really clearly, be careful. This modifies your array. So sort apparently is not a pure function. It modifies the array. Okay. A pure function takes a parameter and returns a value, but it certainly doesn't change the value of the parameter as well. And it's kind of mixed bag here. Some are pure, some are not. Okay. All right. Map, for instance. What does map do? That's our favorite function. Please be pure. Yes. Oh, thank goodness. I don't know what I'd do if map was impure. So map is a pure function. It returns a new array and does not modify the existing. So a lot of them are pure functions. We try to stick to the pure ones, okay, in React. What if we can't? Well, example, let's try something else. I know that this is not going to work because it's the same data, but what if I gave React a new array? Just make a copy. So let's go const new array equals, and I'll pick a pure one. Which one can I take? I'll take slice. There. Slice works. If I give it optional parameters. Okay, so if I give it no parameters, I get back the same thing. I'll just go data dot slice with no parameters. That'll give me just a copy of data. And now I can go new array dot push console log new array and set data new array. So now I'm not touching data. I have a new array that I can push. Now this is safe because this is a copy, so I can push all I want. It doesn't matter because it's not affecting my original. Let's take a look. So let's go add, and it works like it's supposed to. Perfect. This is great. Okay. Nathan Brown. Any upload fans in the crowd? Yeah. It's a cool show. Okay, there we go. Very cool. Okay. So now I'm getting expected behavior. I can add, and clear. I'm getting the proper behavior. I'm not mutating state. That's considered a bad thing. If someone tells you you're mutating state, it means you're changing the original copy or React's copy of that state. In other words, the data. We try not to touch that because, as you can see, we get some pretty odd results. And this is pretty benign. You can get some nasty results than this. It's like crazy stuff happening. So we really avoid mutating state because it can really cause some just crazy problems. Okay, not the least of which is React doesn't know you've made a state change and it won't render, and your screen just freezes and nothing happens because React doesn't know you changed that state. Okay, so that's about this concept of reference equality optimization. Okay, any questions so far on mutating state and not mutating state. It's a really important concept we try to really um, avoid. And yeah, good point, Mitchell. Two sorted is now a new array. You're right, which is kind of cool because they know that. In fact, they added a bunch of the twos. Let's take a look. There's a bunch of them now. There, two string, two spliced, because splice changed. Two reversed, which is kind of cool. And two sorted. So they've added some ones in later versions to give us more options because they know that people like using the pure versions of the array methods. Okay, let's try something else. Let's try some patterns for doing updates without mutating. Now, slice is not bad, and this is kind of the way we did it before we had ES6, the newer JavaScript. We did dot slice. Slice was that was our go-to. Slice, make a copy, slice right away. But what's the better way now to make a copy of an array? Anyone give me an example? What's a better example? Yeah, the spread operator, dot, dot, dot. So instead of that, I can simply say this, dot, 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 data. And that works. And we'll talk about spread operator. So we can go dot, 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 data, spread data. We get, does it work? Let's take a look. Clear that, and works the same. So looking great. So this is the spread operator. Now we can actually do some shortcuts. What we can do instead of this, new array equals dot, 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 data, and push, we can do this in one step, can't we? We can do comma text and do it like this. Wow, that's a lot shorter. Let's try that. And it does work. Very cool. Okay. And Mr. James. There. And it adds at the end of the array. I also know that it can be really cool. I can put it at the beginning of the array. I can go text, comma, dot, 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 data. And now I can add at the beginning of the array. Yes. So it has more flexibility than a push. There is no real push to the beginning method in JavaScript. Okay. So this is kind of flexible. And of course, I could do this even better. I would just do this now. I don't need that variable at all. Simply say James and Nathan Brown. And it adds before all in one step. And this is the way you would see it done normally. Like this. Set data, and then your spread and your new data. Okay. So this is the spread operator. But the question then becomes, well, how does this work? Like, this is cool. I read that this works, and it seems to be very neat, but how does this actually work? What does the spread operator actually do that makes this cool thing work? Let's talk about that. So let's make a little file here. There, we'll call it spread.js. Okay, so if I'm, let's say I'm in an interview. I go to an interview and the interview asks me, after you ask me what IT stands for, which I don't know, the next question is, well, there's this thing called the spread operator. Do you know what it does? What does the spread operator do? I never thought of that. I use it all the time. What does it do? So who knows? What does the spread operator actually do? Who can tell me that? We use it all the time. So what's that thing? What is that? That dot, dot, dot. What does it do? It's good to know what our code actually does. So who knows what the spread operator? By the way, I ask this in my interviews, often with senior developers applying for jobs. And I always ask these innocent sounding questions, right? that tend to get people. What does the spread operator do? I don't know. Well, the answer I usually get is makes a shallow copy of array or object. I very commonly get this answer. And from a junior developer, perfectly acceptable answer. Yes, no problem with that. But from somebody more senior, I would say, no, that's not exactly true. That's correct that it does that, but that's what it's used for. That's not what it does. It's like, what does my hammer do? Well, it builds a birdhouse. Well, yeah, it can build a birdhouse, but that's not what it does. What does the hammer do? Oh, I never thought of that. I just build birdhouses all the time. Well, but it pounds nails in wood. That's what the hammer does, right? I know it's a bad example. So what does the spread operator do that makes it possible for us to make a shallow copy of an object? Let's talk about that. Let's look at operators, okay? What are operators? Well, they're like the verbs of the computer world, aren't they? We have nouns, which are variables. We'll say const x equals 6. There, I've got a noun. It's a variable, a value, in other words, right? Values. Values are the nouns. They are the things. Okay, well, if values are the nouns, const y equals 7. Well, there are verbs in the language as well. And these are the action words, the words that do stuff. Like Bob runs to the store. Bob and runs. Okay. Or Alice runs to work. Same thing. Noun and a verb. Okay, so we have X and we have Y. We need an operator or some kind of verb. Well, what's the very first operator we learned as we're kids? Anyone? That was a long time ago. What was the very first one we learned? How about plus? Did everyone learn that one? At least I think I did. Okay. Unless you went to like Montessori school, you probably learned like a modulus first. Okay. But the rest of us learned plus, and then we learned minus, x minus y, and maybe times and divide. Okay. So we learned these operators, x plus y, x minus y. Yeah, these are operators, and these are, we call, I guess, operands. So this operator takes two operands. I guess we can call it a binary operator to call it something. Okay, so that's one class of operators. We have other class of operators that only take one. For example, let's make this a let. Student doesn't complain on me. I can go screen left. Where'd that come from? Well, I'll go x plus plus. I can do that. I have plus plus, and I can do it to x. And or plus plus x also works. It works either way. Before or after, it has a slightly different value depending on which way you do it, but the result is the same. Okay. X plus plus is a unary operator. It takes a single operand. Okay, easy enough. This is easy stuff, right? And there's other ones, aren't there? There's minus minus and all kinds of cool ones, right? But mostly we know these ones. X plus plus, X minus, two unary operators. And you notice this is a JS file. This is not crashing on me. I'm not getting any errors. These evaluate to something meaningful. So x plus y evaluates. I can go const or let num equals. And that is valid code. Same with this. I can say num equals this. This is valid. This is valid. And that's valid. These expressions, which is a operator and operand, evaluate to something meaningful. Okay, well, there is another operator. Let's make another one. Go const array equals 1, 2, 3. Okay, it is the spread operator. Dot, dot, dot. It's an operator. It is a unary operator. It operates on a single operand, like array, right? So dot, 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 array. There. So operator and operand, just like operator, operand. But I can't go this. This is not valid. It is rather unique in the world of operators, certainly in JavaScript, where it does not evaluate to something meaningful. It doesn't work. Like, what's going on? Yeah, can't see what's going on here. It doesn't know what this is. This is a meaningless or not a meaningful expression. It is incomplete. It can't stand on its own. These ones, they stand alone. These things can all stand on their own, but dot dot array cannot. So spread is rather unique in that respect. You can't just say dot 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 something. So what's happening? Why is that the case? Look at that, what's going on? Well, what does dot 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 array do? So let's take our 1, 2, 3. What does this do? There. Well, same thing. Okay. What's going on with that? Let's comment that one to be sure. There. Doesn't like that. Well, when you say dot 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 and an array, what actually happens is it simply strips out the outermost braces. And I end up with 1, 2, 3. There. That's what you get. And so now it makes sense if I try to say num equals 1, 2, 3, like that. Well, doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Which one do you want, right? So this does not work. I can't just say num equals 1, 2, 3, because which one is it? Okay, doesn't work. So the spread operator can't exist on its own. Dot, dot, dot. Array, we have to put something around like a square braces. There. That does work. Now it's valid because this is, of course, just 1, 2, 3, isn't it? They're equivalent. They are the very same thing. So taking or doing a spread essentially strips off the outermost arrays or strips off its clothing. You end up with a naked array, essentially. Its braces are gone. It's naked. And JavaScript, being a family-friendly language, does not like naked arrays, right? So you have to have some braces on your arrays, like this. Okay, so this is what's happening. Well, okay, that's fine. So it spreads the array. It takes off the braces. That's what it does. And that's actually not a bad answer in an interview. It just takes off the outermost braces off an array object. Yeah, there's more pedantic or technical ways to say it, but that's what's happening. It just takes off the arrays. And how do we use this? How does that help us? Well, now I want to make a copy of array. So to make a copy of array, const new array. If I said make a copy of new array, what would I do? Well, I would simply type in 1, 2, 3. There. I've made a copy. But it's like, well, yeah, but you just typed in 1, 2, 3. That's not really code. Well, kind of is, because I know that dot 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 array is 1, 2, 3, and now I have a copy of array, but it's a new array. It's as if I had typed in 1, 2, 3. Okay, that makes sense. Well, okay, now new problem. I want you to make a copy of array and add 4 to the end. Sure, so I'll go square brace 1, 2, 3, and comma 4 at the end, like that. Okay. Well, we know that this is dot 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 array. So dot 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 array. Oops. Array comma 4. And that's why it works. Because this is 1, 2, 3. The same thing, like that. So that's why we can do this. Or the opposite way, before the beginning, let's go 4 comma, and then 1, comma 2, comma 3, which we know is, of course, dot, 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 array. So this is why it works. Now, the answer to the question makes a shallow copy of an object. Well, that's not really true. This is not all it does. Can anybody think of any other way we could use a spread operator besides in using for copying objects, copying arrays? Any place else we could use it? What do you think? Where else can I use 1, comma 2, comma 3 in my code? Actually, the question, did we nested arrays? It does work, but it only strips off the outermost braces. We'll talk about that in a minute. Only outermost. So it makes a shallow uptake. So, and function calls, exactly. I could go console log. So console log 1, comma 2, comma 3. Totally works. Which means I can go console log dot, dot, dot array, which totally does work, of course. So yeah, exactly. So we use it in other places, but it's most commonly used for doing arrays and making shallow copies. All right, let's take a short break. Right, so we covered quite a bit here. We covered things like why we shouldn't mutate state and why it's really a bad idea to change React's copy without telling React about it, because things can react badly, obviously. And we talked about some ways to get around that with arrays using spread operator. Let's look at some more immutable update patterns, at least for arrays for now. There's all kinds of things we can use. We're going to look at arrays for now, okay? And then we'll talk about some even more complex state. Let's make a change to our code. What I want to do now, if I add, let's add some more users. Tom Cruise there, and Dwayne with the Y and E, or Dwayne. I'm sure it's H in there, Mr. Johnson. There we go. Okay. What I want to do is when I click on a user, I want to remove it from my list. So if I click on Nathan or Tom, I won't click on Dwayne, maybe James, okay, I want to remove that from my list. So let's look at my code and how to do that. Okay. Okay, so it looks like I need an on click, don't I? That's what I need. Something when I click on this LI, I want something to happen. So where's my LI? What's right there? Okay, so let's make this a little easier to read because this is kind of complicated. I need to have something happen. Let's make, maybe let's take a look. Make this multi-line, make my LI like this maybe, and like that. See, let's get away with that. I think it does. Okay, let's double check. And add another one. Let's say Freddie Mercury. Oh, the rocker. Cool. Okay, still works. So now I want to put an on click on my LI. So on click equals, I want it to do something. Okay, I'll do undefined for now. Just to be a placeholder. Undefined. Interesting enough, if you put undefined or the value is, it's as if this didn't exist at all. Let's take a look at that. Oops, it's weird. Here, go that. Let's take a look. If I click on one, see if I click, it's as if there is no on click. You can't do empty. It doesn't like that. That's an error. It's going to say, just crash on me. But you can't put undefined just as a placeholder. Also, so don't forget it, because I always forget putting something there and wonder my code doesn't work. So undefined or a variable that has undefined in it, this whole thing disappears. on click as if it was never there. It's kind of funny that way. So I usually put some kind of placeholder. So now I need a function to happen when I click on this. I want to remove the item. So go ahead and make ourselves a function that will remove the item. So remove item. Okay, and we got to give it something to remove. All we have is the text. So we'll go text. It's probably not the best design, but we'll say remove this text. That'll work. Okay, so I want to now remove this item from my list. Interesting problem. How would I go about removing something from some arbitrary position in an array? Who can give me some examples? Filter. Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah, so we'll use filter. That is probably our best. Index of actually works great too. Find the index of, and then we can remove it that way. Sounds good. But filter is generally our go-to for removing stuff in an array. That's the pattern we usually follow. We use filter. So I do this. I would go const new array. We'll do it the longhand way first. Equals data dot filter. There. And for every text, or text, so we'll say text, or we'll say item because that's parameter. For every item, we want to now filter. If you return true from the filter function, that item gets added. If you return false from this callback, the item is not added. So I want to return whether or not the text matches the item. If that is true, I want it to not add. So I want to go where text is not equal to the item. So give me all the items where text is not equal to item. So everything but this one. Sounds pretty good. And then I'll simply set data to my new array there. Oh, technically I just do this, right? Don't really need the parameter. It's a little less readable though. I'm kind of torn. What do you think? This, or maybe stick with the parameter or the variable? What do you think? Call this new data maybe. New data. I am kind of torn. This is a little more readable. This is not bad. This is not terrible. Like, this is not really a problem. I think this is okay. I think I'll go with this. Okay. Well, we'll start with this for now. Okay. So new data equals data filter, and then we give our condition. Very common immutable update pattern in React. How to remove something from an array. So this is, we commonly use this pattern. So now I need to call my remove item here. Now I can't just say remove item, can I? Because what am I going to get as my text if I call it this way? What's going to happen? Who is generating, or what object in the DOM is generating the onClick? It's the li. So what parameter is it going to give remove item? An event, exactly. So I can't do this, can I? So, and I can't really call the function here because it's outside. I need text. So in this case, I'm forced to do it this way. Anonymous function, and I'm going to call remove item with, in this case, it's the item. There. Now I could do this. I could put the function in here. This totally works. And do this there. And now it doesn't need a parameter because now it's item, right? But I need curly braces. And this is generating a new function every single time. Very inefficient. So we won't be doing that. So this is probably my best bet. Like this. Remove item, item. This is one of those cases where we really have no choice but to do it in line. Okay, let's take a look. If I click on somebody, who's a good candidate for removal? Who votes? Not Dwayne. Okay. And const. Oh, hold on. Remove item. Where's our const remove item? Text. Yeah, we can do that too. That's fine. I tend to not use arrow functions for named functions. And there is some uh, degree of disagreement on that between senior and less senior developers. Most seniors say, no, if it's a named function, give it a name, call it function. If it's an inline function, give it an arrow because that's what they're for callbacks. Really, it's whatever company you work for will decide that for you. I tend to go with this. It's a function. Call it a function. Use and reserve arrow functions for callbacks or inline callbacks. It really is up to you or up to your company that you work for. Okay. Okay, let's pick one to delete. Let's take a vote. Who votes for Freddie or Dwayne? No, don't vote Dwayne. Okay. Or Tom, Nathan, or James. Who should we try to remove? Tom. Why does Tom always get the vote for removal? Okay. He seems to get removed a lot. Okay, so click on Tom. What happened? Let's take a look. Anything happen? Oh, undefined, right? My placeholder. Where is my little placeholder? It is right. Oh, there it is. Equals remove item. Let's try it again. Okay. Oh, oh no, we deleted Dwayne. The wrong one. Yikes. And it worked. Ah, sorry, Mr. Johnson. I didn't mean to delete you. This Tom. Okay, now he's gone. It works. Great. So add. Now let's try to add Freddie. Well, I removed all the Freddies. So although it worked, I didn't expect that. Probably a weakness in my design, right? I'm saying delete by text. I probably should have had some IDs in there maybe and delete that specific ID, but my data didn't have that. So, but yeah, it seems to work. So I can add and I can remove items. So this is a very common immutable update pattern. Remove something from an array. Let's try another one with arrays, okay? Let's try an example. I'm going to go make a function here. New file, patterns.js. I've got some data. I'm going to give an example here. I think I have some data someplace. Let me grab it here. I have some data we can use. There we go. This is some data right here. There's an array of objects. Okay. This is actually from one of the old Compass assignments we had in the last few years. Okay, where we have a array of days, and each day is an object. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And each day has the name, which I can suppose you call it name, or day. I'll call it day.name. We'll call it name. I think it's better. Sure, we'll call this the name of the day is Monday, and it has some spots. I think it refers to the number of appointment spots available for that particular person. I think it's for like tutorials or something. Okay, so an array of days, and days are objects. So I want to have a function that is called update spots. Update spots. And the function with the following thing. There. Oops, try again. 2 stars. There we go. Okay. Update spots is going to update the spots for the day and return a new days array. This is my requirement. Update the spots for the day, and I get as a parameter, I get the days array. So I get an array of days like these. Okay. I get the name of the day, and I get the new spots that I want to update with. Okay. Okay, return a new day. So I'm going to go just like in our exams, return new days array. Great. Easy. Const new days equals ... days and return new days. There, just to make sure we covered those bases, right? And return new days. Great. And for fun, we'll console log. We're going to call our function first. We'll go update spots with days. We'll update Tuesday. And we'll change Tuesday. Tuesday's 3. We'll make Tuesday something obvious, like 99. So we can notice it, right? Here. That's one busy person. Okay. And const new days equals. And we'll console log both of them. So we'll console log our days and our new days to make sure we actually done the update correctly. Okay, so this is my test. Update the spots on Tuesday. I should see the original days with my 13258 and my new days with 199,258. Okay, now right now I'm just going to see the originals. Let's take a look. So clear and node patterns. Oops, there we go. Oh, and Monday. Oh, of course. Better put some strings in there. Of course, we're on the wrong thing. Oops, that's better. And this doesn't need quotes. There we go. Who wrote this? Man, come on. Okay, so far so good. I have, it looks like a new array. I'm guessing, right? Just for fun, let's just make sure it is an array. We'll go new days dot push. And we'll push an object. We'll say name of Saturday. And spots of 10 there, just to make sure we're not modifying original. Okay, so they're great. Our original is not modified and updated. So far we did an immutable push, which is fine. Not what we want, but at least we know we can at least change this array immutably. We're not mutating our days. Cool. All right. That can now go. It's not really necessary. Okay, where should I start? Well, I got to find the day in here somehow. I know I've got Tuesday. I want to find the day Tuesday. What are my choices? How can I find Tuesday? Now I could loop through them. It's just an array. It's pretty simple. I can do a for of and then return the one, much like we did in our Tiny app. Oh, that was an object where we iterate the collection and we return the one where the day matches the name. Okay. Any other choices? What are my choices to find something in an array? Filter? Well, filter will remove something from the array and it gives me an array back. Although it does work, I would end up with an array. And you're totally right. If I did const, we'll call it array because filter returns an array, equals days dot filter, and for every, we'll call it D, where D dot name equals name. There. Okay, that's not bad. Let's console log we get back. Console log r array. Okay. I should put a clear in front of that. Clear semicolon is actually kind of cool. Yeah, okay, I got an array with Tuesday. So I got an array that's smaller, and I could say probably I could do this maybe with a 0 in front of it. Let's try that. Yeah, that seems to work. So I did get the day. So now I can say this is my day. It's my day. Okay. And console log my day. Oops. There. There we go. And I got my day. So this does work. However, destructuring does work, but then you're going to end up with an array of what? You're going to get it with 0, 1, 2, 3, and you don't know which order. By the way, they're not necessarily in order, right? This could be in a random order. So we don't really know the index of it yet, do we? Okay. There. So we can do is, well, filter's not bad, but it's not really its purpose. Locating something is not really the purpose of the filter function. Is there another array function that will help us find something? Maybe there's one that's custom made for that. Let's take a look. JavaScript array find object in array. Find. There's a function or method called find. And that's what it's for, is to find stuff. Well, how does find work? Oh, element for element. Looks same as filter, just it's called find. So it's the exact same logic as filter. So we just change this to find. There, and we don't need to get the 0 anymore. Let's take a look what we get now. It does, it finds it. So find is a great choice for finding something in an array that's not just a value. We can't really do index of, because index of only takes a value, doesn't it? We want something that takes a callback where we can do some logic ourselves. Okay, so now we have the day. All right, so this is great. We've got the day. Now we can change the date.spots, right? We've made a copy. Let's use our new days there to make sure we grab our find in our new days, not in our original copy. And again, okay. Now we're going to change the day. So we got our day out of our new days. Oh, easy. Now we'll go day dot spots equals, and call this spots here. Spots. There. Great. We've now updated the day inside our new days array, haven't we? Great. Let's take a look. Oh, we've changed the original too, unfortunately. So we've mutated state, even though we use the spread operator. And that's because the spread operator removes these outer braces. But these ones are still the originals. These are values, right? 73, 96, for instance, just memory. It's by reference, exactly. So these are still the same references. Now I have two arrays with the same values in it. The arrays are different, but the values or the addresses, references are identical. So when I talk to one, when I talk to day 73, then it's still day 73 in the other array as well. So I'm updating the same day. So I've mutated state. And it's not so obvious, is it? This is not so obvious. I did my spread, did my find on my spreaded data, and I found the new one, updated my spots, but I updated the original as well. This is the trap, or where it can get insidious, to really be careful not to mutate state. And this is a great example. So this doesn't work. Need another way to update those spots. What can we do? Well, a couple ways we can do it. Why don't we try to, where's our array functions? JavaScript index. I think index of was suggested earlier. Yes, index of. I think, what does it take? Index of takes an element to locate. So index of doesn't really help because it takes a value. But if I knew the index, I could then simply replace that day with a new object. For example, if I knew the index, I was thinking out loud here, maybe I could somehow find the index of the day. So For instance, const index equals 1 for Tuesday. There. Like that. Okay. Oops. Now I've got the day. I can make a new day if I copy the day. So I can't just change this because this is the original day, isn't it? I need a new day. So const new day equals dot, 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 day. The same works with objects. I can make a copy of an object going dot, 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 day. Now I can go new day dot spots equals spots. Great. So now I have, let's console log these two things. Let's console log our day, and we'll console log our new day. Let's make sure we haven't done anything. Not new day, new day. There. Okay. Okay, cool. Our day and our new day. So we haven't mutated day and nothing's happened here. So looking good. But the problem is we have this new day, need to get that new day back into our array. Right? Now we have our new days. We got to get that new day back inside that array. Well, we know the index. So we could go new days index equals new day. And that might work. Let's take a look. It does work. So if I knew the index, I can do it. I just say new day index equals new day, and that does work. But how do I find the index? Let's take a look. Let's ask Google how to find the index of an object. So JavaScript array find index. Well, it turns out there's a function called that, find index. It's exactly what it does. It looks exactly like find. So I'll just say find index, and I'll say the index equals new days, find index, and then const my day equals new days bracket index. This is a lot of work, and it is actually. Okay, so okay, now I found my day. Because I got the index, I can find the day. I make a new day out of that day, change its spots, stuff it back into new days, and return new days. Oh, okay. This better be worth it. Oh, it works. So this code does work. I have my old state and my original state. But this is a lot of code, isn't it? Like, yikes. That's a lot of stuff. There's got to be a better way than this. Turns out there is. There's actually a pattern specifically designed to do this. Update object in an array. In fact, let's Google it. JavaScript, update object in array. Now, it's hard to find the right one because it always changes. I'll try Stack Overflow. You never know with these guys what you're going to get, you know. Take a look. Sometimes you get a pretty good one. See, find index, that's our first choice. Trying find index. And same thing, right? This does work. Okay. Any better answers? Let's take a look. Sometimes it's here. Oh, this is not bad. Okay. Let's take a look. Anybody else? Yeah, okay. This is not a bad answer. Using, it's not written very well, but this is the better pattern. Using map. Using map. Because what map does, map returns a new array. So I don't need to copy my array, do I? I'll just say days. And I'm going to go back to day. I'll go const day equals I got to find the day. I have no choice. I have to find the day. And then I'll make my new day equals ... day, comma, spots. Because it works the same way with objects. Step with objects, it will replace spots. So now I have a new day, which is a copy of the old day with the spots updated. Unlike an array, this replaces or adds if it's not there. But if it exists, this will replace the existing item spots. So now I want to get this new day back into my days array, but not mutate it, and that's using map. So const new days, we'll call it updated days. Updated days equals days dot map. Okay. So for every day, we'll use D. Okay. What are we going to do here? So for every day, well, if D dot name is equal to name, I want to replace it with my new day. So I'll say question mark, new day. Otherwise, D. There. And this might actually work. Let's take a look at this. So, yeah, what is that? What happened there? This is a very common pattern to replace or update an object in an array, or in this case, replace an object in an array. Days.map. In the map function, everything you return ends up in the new array. So I'm saying for every day, return, that which is implied, right? I have no curly braces, but it's essentially a return statement. Return the following thing. If the name matches, return the new day. Otherwise, just return the same day. It's not changed. Very common pattern in React and in JavaScript to replace an object in an array. Let's give it a try. Oh, and new days. Oh, of course, days I'll find now. There we go. Looks like it works. It's a much more elegant way to replace or update an object in an array using map. And this might be a really great interview question. Write me some code that updates an object in an array, because it's so common. And anybody who's been coding React for any length of time, like a month, would know this one. So this would be an excellent interview question to weed out the people that just don't code but just have a nice resume. Okay, I would ask this one. I don't ask a lot of coding questions, but something like this. Let's say, how would you update an object in an array? And if you say, I'd use map with a ternary. Yeah, great. That's all I need. I don't need to know the code. Using map with a ternary, you're good to go. Okay, you've done this before, I can tell. So this is pretty great. Of course, I would simply return this thing now. Return this. Oops, yikes, what's that? Readable. Wow, okay. There. And I could even do this. Let's take a look. How does that mess things up? It's not bad. It's a little on the unreadable side, isn't it? I'm thinking. I think I'd go with, I do this instead. I'd put my new day separate. There. Oops. Yeah, I do this instead. Kind of make it a little nicer to read. Although technically, nothing wrong with taking this and putting that there. Okay. And you'll probably see this more of this. I tend to err on the side of readability because I like to turn my code over to somebody else and do other work. I don't want to be stuck with my code the rest of my life. I want somebody else to be stuck with it and fixing bugs. So I make it easy for the next person to come along so I can work on new projects. Because what happens to developers is you do some projects. Pretty soon you've done 10 projects. Something happens in a project. Who are they going to call? They're going to call you. Well, now you got to stop what you're doing and work on this bug or this enhancement or fix or something. Pretty soon, that's all you're doing is working on enhancements, fixes, and bugs for your old code and you never get to do anything new. So good companies have a handover process where you can pass your code along to somebody else and you can work on new stuff. That's what you want. Okay. You don't want to be stuck with your old code. Okay. So try to make your code readable so you can move on and do more interesting stuff. It really is in your own best interest. Otherwise, you wrote it, you're stuck with it. Okay. So keep that in mind. Imagine you're teaching somebody else your code as you're writing it. Say, please don't call me. Put a comment here. Please don't call me. Read this. There. Okay. That's what you want. So you don't get called to edit your own code. Okay. Another pattern. Okay. So this is a very common problem in Immutable is updating objects in arrays or arrays in objects, the same thing. Okay. Any questions on Immutable updates? Okay. That's kind of our talk. We did cover a bit of it at the end of last lecture, so we're a little early today. So if no questions, I'll let you go.